iRacing has a massive server moderation issue, which was highlighted no clearly than in the recent Spa 24 Split 22 Wreckfest debacle. In this video, I'm going to discuss that Spa incident, why sim racers are being completely unreasonable about it, and why this should be a wake-up call for iRacing to actually do something rather than just letting things continue, because this is a problem across all of iRacing and many iRacing races. To be able to unsubscribe, sadly you have to be a subscriber first, so subscribe so you can then unsubscribe. Clicking the like button gets me one step closer to a Turkish hair transplant. And of course, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all our channel members, Patreon supporters and Twitch members. Thank you very much. It's really appreciated. As always, this is all your fault. Now, it's worth saying that actually most iRacers drive very carefully and really quite clean, surprisingly clean. Some of that I do think comes from the safety rating system, even though the safety rating system is very obviously deeply flawed, but I think it does actually work to incentivise generally cleaner race driving. And then I think a lot of it also comes from the iRating system and people wanting to race in higher splits. And obviously if you have damage or crash out of a race, you're not going to gain rating, you'll lose rating very quickly. So generally most people playing the game are incentivized to not have car contacts. Furthermore, iRacing has really terrible netcode which causes invisible car contacts, weird cars flashing on and off, and a whole host of things that mean that you really need to leave quite a lot of space between your car and other cars and be super duper overly predictable with your driving if you want to consistently win and do well in races. I think that's massively at the detriment to what you can do in terms of racecraft, but it does, for people that understand iRacing, result in generally cleaner driving. And again, I think the damage system, which is deeply flawed and often incredibly random in terms of what gives you damage and what doesn't, for people that understand iRacing and its limitations, causes people to generally be a little bit more cautious, massively limiting what moves can be done and making the racing a bit stale, but it is what it is and it can work somewhat okay with the right players that are experienced in how iRacing works. Now, iRacing also have a reporting system that allows people to report drivers that are particularly bad, like drive around the track in reverse, intentionally wreck, block the circuit, or are overly abusive on the voice chat. However, there is no active live moderation on any of the servers. You're not going to be in a race and someone is doing something stupid or attacking people on voice chat and they suddenly get disappeared or kicked off the server by an admin, because there are no admin there. I have heard rumours that sometimes iRacing staff watch some races and people sometimes are removed from servers, but I've played iRacing for over 10 years, I have thousands of hours in it, and it's not something I've ever witnessed, and it's not something that I think anybody really considers as a possibility whilst they're driving. So with all that out the way, it's now time to drop the bombshell on the fact that when it comes to drivers that decide to actually drive badly, it's a small minority of drivers on iRacing, and iRacing are incredibly lucky that this is the case, but when it comes to drivers that decide to drive very badly, iRacing is terrible at addressing them. And this is something that I've demonstrated week after week when we do iRating livestream challenges. We'll play iRacing for 15 hours a day for a month. And you will see the races go from being decent quality races with nice people to, oh look, some go-kart bandits have joined the race with their own little Discord server and they're blocking the entire track. Oh look, a bunch of guys have decided to join the server and they are just taking everyone out. And that's it for the rest of the day until those users log off. And those users will be on iRacing for years. They don't do anything about it. You can report them, maybe sometimes they get a warning, but I've seen the same usernames on the service constantly. even more egregiously, and I don't think many people are aware of this, iRacing allows people to have alt accounts. So they have their serious esports account, which they use to get their rating up so that when it comes to big events they can be in the top splits. But then for F4, rookie races and general driving, they use their alt account where they drive like complete arses. They do last to first challenges, constantly wrecking loads of people on the grid, and they are never removed from the service. As I say, we're on it for months at a time. I've been playing iRacing for 10 years. You see the same names. They've never been removed from the service. I've reported some of them. I know other people have reported some of them. They stay on the service. Now, I don't know if this is because they happen to be real race drivers. I do suspect that if you're a sim racing company, you benefit from having real drivers playing your game because it makes it look like your game is so good because real drivers use it. So I would imagine that there's an incentive for iRacing to not ban potential future Formula 1 drivers from their game. But still, the fact that you have an ELO system that's a pure ELO system, and then you allow people to have alt accounts to then mess around with in a way that's going to affect other users on the service, is a direct endorsement by the developer itself that they are happy to undermine the safety rating, the ranking and systems that are in place to try and make things cleaner. Now combine that with the fact that iRacing do not have any in-server moderation. There's no admin there. On any of the servers I've ever been on in over 10 years of playing iRacing, there's never been admin to pit someone and put a message on the screen saying inappropriate driving, removed from session. I don't think they should be in every session. That's obviously ludicrous. There's a lot of splits running. There's a lot of, even in a 24-hour Spa race, for example, there's a lot of sessions running. There's a lot of drivers taking part in it. They shouldn't be in every single session at all times, but you should have admin occasionally in some sessions very visibly removing someone that's egregious from the race. It could just be like 1 or 2 races a day. It would be memed on really quickly by iRacers when someone gets removed, and it's like you'd have policemen on every single street corner. But if someone does commit a crime, well, to be fair, after 10 years of Tory austerity, nothing happens. But generally speaking, the idea is if someone commits a crime, you make it very visibly obvious. You put their head on a pike on London Bridge, so as to de-incentivise people from committing the crime. It's not going to be perfect, but it's better than doing absolutely nothing at all. Not the beheading and heads on a pike, but the server moderation. Though maybe if you loaded up iRacing and you were greeted by the heads of bandits when you load into the game, that would make me drive safer. Don't know about you guys. But yeah, why on earth, for something where people are paying a monthly subscription fee, why on earth is it moderated so badly? It's worse than low fuel motorsports, which you can play for free. I mean, I can even think of a few basic things off the top of my head. Why is there not a voting system inside of the servers where a supermajority can vote to pit someone? Or a supermajority can vote that notifies iRacing admin that there's someone wrecking the race for everyone. Maybe that's only limited for endurance races or big events. I don't know. I could genuinely suggest like 30 different ideas. There's so many things that could be tried or done. It's mind-blowing the lack of game design that iRacing apply to iRacing, given that it's a monthly subscription service, given that its success is predicated on the quality of racing. They've been so lucky that the sort of delusion that it's real racing but simulated has meant, for the most part, that I think people don't approach it like they would any other video game. But obviously, as iRacing and sims get more popular and more non-deluded sim racers and more just general gamers play it, you're going to get more of these issues. But come on, you can say that my ideas are stupid, you can call me an idiot, but I really don't see how you could argue that iRacing couldn't do something just a little bit better. So now we have this 24 hours of Spa split 22 debacle, and I can't, part of me is like, look, we've been drawing attention to this specific thing of really bad wrecking and iRacing doing nothing about it for 5+ years. I just get shouted at, I get brigaded, I get some interesting emails from people, and yeah, but now we have actually something a bit more public, and I think iRacing are finally going to be pressured into maybe taking some action, possibly. Who knows, maybe they won't do anything, it is iRacing after all. But then you get the interesting aspect, or not interesting, but predictably stupid due to how the sim racing scene operates, of a kind of inversion where sim racers have now turned the idiots in the Spa 24-hour race into the focal point of the anger and hate towards bad driving and wrecking in iRacing. And I think a lot of sim racers have completely missed the point here. It shouldn't be targeted at those drivers. I mean, sure, everybody should be discouraged from driving like an arse, and those drivers' accounts should be banned. You know, I'm not saying people should accept people wrecking people. Nobody would obviously make that argument. However, though everybody has their own individual responsibility, the fact of the matter is, when it comes to a video game, the system and structures of that video game are really the thing that's important in order to make sure it works universally and stops the issues from arising. Also, it's so ridiculous to take some idiot teenagers' actions from in a video game and then transfer that onto their real life and what they're doing in real life with whatever their race career potentially is or whatever else stuff they're doing. I think it is important to recognise the context that it's a 24-hour race. People put a lot of time into it, people are invested in it, people are taking it seriously, but it is a jumping online race in a video game. A video game that is deeply flawed in the underlying handling, the physics, the netcode, so much so that for the vast majority of people taking part in that event, I guarantee you the underlying issues of the technical aspects of the game will have ruined their race more than the likelihood of a bunch of idiot teenagers deciding to ruin the race. But for some reason that's too controversial. iRacers are all on the iRacing Kool-Aid, so you can't say that. But yeah, you have to be aware of the context. I hate to break this to sim racers, but iRacing, especially jumping online race in iRacing, is not a real 24-hour race. You can take it very seriously, you can invest a lot of time into it, you can really get into it, but it's split 22 in a jumping big event. Like, it should be considered in the same way as if I did a massive simulated battle in Arma 2. Everyone can take it very seriously, and you could have some people that ruin it for everyone. That's awful for those people to ruin it for everyone, and you don't want them to do that, and they should be banned and kicked from doing that event. I'm not endorsing people ruining stuff for other people, but at the end of the day, you'd have to go, right, that's a milsim, it's a milsim event, it's really annoying. It's up to the organisers of the milsim event or that game to make sure that these people can't ruin the game for us in the future. But you know, let's stop there. It's not appropriate to then absolutely destroy someone's potential career from their idiot actions in a video game, specifically the context of playing a video game in that way. Obviously, if we're talking about a professional, actual esports event with money on the line and a whole host of other stuff, you know, sure, you're going to have to take specific consequences for the context of that specific thing, appropriate to that specific thing. But in this specific case, we are talking about teenagers. In fact, they might even not be teenagers. Like, I think some people, some sim racers, They're normally skewed to being older. They've probably forgotten what it's like being a teenager. I don't know, maybe they've not had children or been around teenagers or younger. People's brains are not fully developed. Teenagers do really stupid things. I mean, I broke my back on a sledge as a teenager. So I am, you have to keep in mind that teenagers and children tend to be incredibly stupid. I do think things are slightly different when you're talking about older professional drivers. And obviously, I do think, people have to try and represent themselves as best possible and not ruin things for other people, even if that is in a video game or in real life. But you know what I mean? Just watching the sort of conversation on this Spa 24 split 22, not that it matters too much that it's a stupidly low split, but watching the reaction on that, I just can't help but think how weirdly disproportionate and skewed things are, largely I think because of a big aspect of how deluded in many ways a lot of sim racers are. Also, why, given that people do swear a lot in iRacing and just the nature of it being an online service and real names, why are children allowed on it? I really have questions about that. I don't know what the terms and conditions are, but that is something as well. Maybe you can have an iRacing Lite for younger iRacers or something. I don't know what the rules are there, but that does seem really weird to me. Again, from a moderation perspective, the iRacing doesn't have more of a stringent age limit for it. But then again, from a business perspective, children's brains, with them not being fully shaped and formed, makes them very susceptible to being able to be indoctrinated and monetized. So businesses that can exploit children tend to do so. It's incredibly lucrative. I should know, I've been operating a chimney sweep business for the last 20 years and it's fantastic. All said and done, I just think this should be a huge wake-up call for iRacing to do something about their moderation. I also feel like players that are new to iRacing or have started out in iRacing or come into iRacing, they need to be aware of this lack of moderation, the alt accounts that are allowed on iRacing, and many aspects of the insane design of iRacing. With that all in mind though, I do really quite enjoy playing iRacing at times. I mean, I rage quit it every week or so, but that's part of the fun. I'm a total sim masochist. I mean, I watched a Microsoft Flight Sim 24 loading bar for 5 hours, and it was one of the best gaming sessions I've ever had. So, I do think you can still get a lot of enjoyment out of iRacing, despite how insane it is. So, I'm saying this from a position of someone that would actually like iRacing to just be a better video game that we can all enjoy more. It'll be interesting to know what your thoughts are in the comments, though. I'm just waiting. I'm sure we will get strawmanned to death on this. We always do whenever we try to talk about something in a slightly more nuanced way. But that's just how the world works. If you got this far in the video all the way to the end, I'm deeply sorry for you, because it means that you had nothing else better to do with your time. So, oh dear. But if you did, let's have a double prawn and a teacup emoji on your comment. Thank you very much for watching. We're definitely going to be doing some more of the Ringmeister Super Formula Light 3-lap sprint races. This format with the right car is so good and so fun. The Spec Racer Ford was really fun on this. But now this Super Formula Light, I want to win one of these races. It's mental, but it's fantastic. It's really enjoyable. So we're going to be doing more of that in a live stream. So if you haven't subbed, click the like button. And I will see you when we're next live. Till then, happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.